Good evening, Acadiana, and welcome back to another exciting episode of From Change to Change, hosted by Vote, Voice of the Experience, and I'm Marcus Simmons.
And I'm Samika Miner.
And thank you for inviting us into your homes. Today, we will have some very informative guests who will be joining us right after this break.
Hi, and welcome back to From Change to Change. Today, our guest, I'll let him introduce himself.
Shahid Rashad.
Okay, Brother Rashad is here, and today we're going to be talking about mass incarceration in the state of Louisiana and its impact on the mental health of incarcerated men, specifically African American men. So, give us a little history about your time when you were in Angola.
Well, when I talk about my time in Angola, I would have to begin what brought me to Angola. Right. Prior to that, prior to entering the prison system, I come from a relatively good family. However, my environment that perpetuated a lot of crime, drug use, stuff like that. I have realized that environment kind of mold and shape me. And with that being said, I got into the life of crime and drug use. And I think that what brought me, after my self-evaluation, that is the thing that brought me to Angola, right, where I received a sentence of 198 years plus four years, which came to, 202 years. And after entering Angola, in 1985, I managed after several years, 1988, I managed to get a reduction of my sentence or a resentencing, which gave me 33 flat years. That experience in my import into Angola was devastating mentally. Being separated from my family, realizing that I could have done better prior to coming to Angola, realizing that my participation in street life brought me there, right? And that thing or that concept or that experience kind of took a toll on my thinking while I was there and trying to navigate through a system that I witnessed was kind of unjust in terms of brothers being in solitary confinement, because I experienced that too for several years. Some people call it being in a state of rebellion, but actually advocating what was right and trying to remain with some type of human dignity. Right. But you in the prison system, those who are considered to be free men or keep turners, they feel like you don't have any dignity, so they continue to force you to perpetuate a mental imbalance between what is just and what is unjust. And experiencing that, again, I spent 23 years in Angola. First time I exited Angola after 17 years, I stood behind the gate for 17 years. And the only time I left Angola is for a doctor appointment at Charity Hospital. At that time was in New Orleans. Right. And that was for several hours. And then from there, it was 5 more years behind the gates.
Yeah. I can relate.
Yeah, and that's primarily my experience, which really, when we really look at it, we know people have spent practical life in Angola and continue to spend practical life in Angola. They've been there 30, 40, in some cases 55 years. So, that have never been on the other side of the gate for no reason. So, that really takes effect, and it took effect on me. It took an effect on me, and I say that because I remember coming home after those years, and I had to be reminded about the usage of the door, the bathroom door. I had to be reminded of that. I remember my wife saying, "Hey, why you have the door open while you're using
right.
the bathroom?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
why you have to ask me to turn the light off? You
Right.
know, stuff
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
when these questions was imposed by my family, I realized, wow, man, I brought that with me.
Yes.
I brought that with me after, you know, trying to recalibrate or integrate into society.
Right.
I really don't think that, you know, because just like you, I had the same experience with my family members upon my return, you know, just, and they call it institutionalized.
Right. Yes, sir.
And it's not really being institutionalized. Well, in a sense, I guess in layman terms it is, but in actuality, it's adapting to another world.
Yes,
Because you
yes.
have to actually exist and exist progressively in that other world. Because if you can't let go of the free world mindset, you're not gonna last in there.
You're deviating. You're
You're not gonna
deviating from a
last in there.
program
Yeah.
that have been enacted by institution.
Right.
You know, we call it what we call the Bureau of Prisons. You know, you're deviating from a program that they have established. Now, I want to say this also is that and I heard you mention mental health.
Right.
Mental health illnesses, in particularly Angola, and I have to speak of Angola because that's primarily where I was at.
Right.
It's very prevalent. It's very prevalent. And if a person is not using the apparatuses for reformation,
Right.
they're stuck in that quagmire.
Yes.
They're stuck in that quagmire where I have witnessed knife fights behind a television, where I have witnessed, and when I talk about this, because when we hear terms like rape in this life, you know, outside the gates, we find that abhorrent. But something has to be wrong with this person.
Right.
I have seen that happen. You know, again, when you see someone attempting to murder someone behind a television,
Yes.
you know, because he felt like he was
Yes.
disrespected, that is a mental issue.
Right.
You know, it's a mental issue. And it was prevalent, you know, during my time, my early stay in Angola. So, you know, we have heard all the old sayings where certain things come to your mind. Damn, my dad told me that. Oh, my mom told me that's what happened, or something like that. And when you begin to reflect on those things, then what that does, it actually helps you to begin to use the tools that exist for reformation. And when I use the term reformation, I'm talking about from a mental perspective. You know, so, you know, when I realized that in Angola after several years, I began to take the process of education, because that's always was told to us as we come up, education. So I got involved in the things that was available to not just to better myself, actually as a means of escaping the madness that was there, you know, and trying to, again, going back to what you're saying, trying to adapt to an environment that is really unnatural. You know, it's like being caged like an animal.
Right.
You know, not being able to turn the TV on when you
That's what
have
it
to
is.
go eat when they tell you to eat. You know, if the shower closed, you come in a certain time and the shower closed, you can't shower. You know, and stuff like that. So we use different apparatuses to escape the madness that was existing, and that's what I did. I concentrated on rebuilding myself because, you know, I really believe this, that we can't depend on no one but Allah and ourselves. You know, we can't depend on nobody else but God and ourselves. And when I say ourselves, I actually mean that from a pluralistic perspective. You know, so I begin to associate myself with people of like mind,
That's right.
people that believed in the rebuilding of our minds and our spirituality. And I want to give, if I may, like we call him Norris Henderson.
Right.
He played a pivotal role in my development. Actually, he was a mentor to me. Him coupled with brothers like Lamont, brothers like Akatabu, brother Quabla, brothers that was like, I remember, and I'm so glad y'all have me on the show because I had a nostalgia experience when I was looking at it at home where y'all mentioned ASCP, Angola Special Civic Project. I was in that program.
Right.
I was in I was actually one of the brothers that was writing letters with ASCP and the lifers to pass on to other inmates.
Wow.
And at that time, when I was in Angola, we was able to able to organize, to go on a yard, have everybody come out. We was able to disseminate the information, what we needed them to do, contact their family, contact their representative and stuff like that, their families represent, because no one representing us.
Right.
So we had to really reach out to people to really push what we call judicial reformation. And some major bills passed.
Right.
Under the guise of brothers like Norris Henderson.
Right.
We called him Sabor.
Right.
He was the imam there. And bills like the 2045 bill. That's what I got out on.
Right.
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 And it was amazing, It was amazing. But going back to mental health, man, it's very prevalent in the penal system. And there's people that you would look at, if you was able to like witness what they're doing, you would say, that brother don't deserve to be out.
Right.
Right. Disregarding that something may be really wrong with him. He may be suffering from what we call today PTSD.
Right.
Post-traumatic syndrome.
Right.
When he get out and he goes back through the revolving door, we say, wow, and we know that the media, the system pretty much highlight those people. People that choose to, go back to prison.
Right.
They don't highlight the success of those who come out, that have gotten themselves together.
Right.
And I'm not saying, I want to say this, that I'm not saying that I'm totally together, because
No,
sometimes I kind of reflect and say, man, wait a minute here, let me get this thought out of my head.
Right. Right. Of course.
Yeah,
Of course. I do it
it's
every
not
day.
it's not a thought that I have experienced outside of prison. It'd be thoughts that I didn't had in the prison, and I said, man, what's going on here? So I think, in reference to that, not just saying I witness it, I think that people, they need to construct, as opposed to anger. I guess anger management falls under that and everything. But I think they need a sense of what we call mental therapy. And I'm not talking about just something minute. I think people need to, they need to have that in a system to help brothers and sisters to reintegrate into society, as opposed to just putting them in a halfway house, let them go out there and work and stuff like that, but to see where they at mentally. And people, I think, we if I may say, Samika, and I'm coming out here now, I went to the doctor. I went to the Surrey Street Clinic for a tooth extraction, and I'm talking to them, and I asked her, because I know out here you have a lot of mothers that are crying because of the death of their child in the street, and you never hear that the system is reaching out or providing them with some type of therapy.
Right.
Especially after experiencing such trauma in their families. A young son hoping that they'll die before their child.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So I imposed the question there. I said, y'all got any mental health assistance here? She said, well, yeah. I said, well, y'all never advocate
Never
that.
advocated. Nobody.
You know,
advocated.
because there's a lot of people, not just a lot of people in our community
Right.
that have suffered a trauma of death by way of the gun or however, you know,
Right.
the trauma
Just from
type thing.
childhood.
Yeah, you know, witnessing their
from
child
childhood.
laying in the streets. You know, but they'll never say, hey, come here
Right.
and let us talk to you. Let us see if we can help you heal yourself. And we go through years. Our mothers and our fathers go through years despising the perpetrator, despising the system and everything, you know? And the cycle remains there.
Right.
Just
right,
like it is in
right,
prison.
Right.
You know?
Because the children end up ingesting
Mm-hmm.
that trauma or those feelings toward the perpetrator or when that needs to be dealt with.
Well, that
But-
needs to be a resolution.
But
Exactly.
when you say that they never advocate for that, you know, I have to admit to myself that that's a deliberate tactic that they have
Definitely.
to keep
Definitely.
us exactly where we are
Yeah.
because they can't have us whole like the rest of the world.
That's right.
Know what I mean?
That's right.
Because they recognize, and this is me talking. I feel that because we could talk about the detrimentalities of being incarcerated
Mm-hmm.
all day, but there's also, on the flip side, a quality to that a person develops within himself after being incarcerated.
Yes,
He
yes.
develops a paternal instinct, like to want to nurture
Mm-hmm.
and love. And I don't care what anybody says. Everybody that I know that has come home from incarceration really, honestly, truthfully care.
Mm-hmm.
They truthfully care about fixing their community. They might not know how to go about it. They
Yeah.
might need an avenue to do it.
Mm-hmm.
However, if they don't get a chance to express that care at the beginning before life starts punishing them, you'll never realize that that person came home with the ultimate goal to fix
fixing.
stuff.
That's right.
Wow.
You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Because
Yes, sir.
life will take control, and it's easy for him to start feeling the guilt and start. Because while you're incarcerated, like you said, I was listening to you, and while you were expounding, and I conveyed that one of the key vehicles to mental health, to trauma incarcerated is realizing, man, I didn't even have to come through this.
That's right.
I didn't even and you
Yes.
live with that guilt
Yes.
and you beat yourself down and every day and then you realize, so then you can become even more angry with yourself and literally allow yourself to conform to the animalistic elements
By way
that
of-
exist.
By way of that regret.
Right, by
You know,
way
that-
of that regret.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot of
Things, yes, it is, definitely.
And Brother Rashid, one day, what I want to do is have
Mm-hmm.
a true. I want to have a couple of convicts up here
Yes,
and
sir.
have a true conversation to the world about what really goes on in prison.
Yes.
I'm talking about
Yes.
the defecation in the food.
Yes,
All that stuff
all that.
happened to me.
And
You know
I
what I'm saying?
definitely want to hear about the shortage of bunks, and how
everything,
that
everything,
impacts the mental
everything.
health of
Well,
incarcerated
and
people.
that goes back to the mass incarceration,
Mm-hmm.
where we all know that, private prisons actually plays a serious role in that. The government itself,
Right.
because it's a business.
Right.
It's
Right,
a
of
business.
course.
Right.
And when we was going through the system, they always had this trap. Like one trap, like in my instance, is that I call it a light felony, right? Got a probation, right?
Right.
Didn't get in trouble for the next 3 years, right? In terms of anything serious. But when I got the armed robbery charge, they reached back, got that, because I come through that crime bill thing with Biden and all them dudes.
Right.
They reached back, got that, and gave me 198 years. You know, so me standing there in front of the judge, I'm talking about 2 counts on robbery, me standing in front, he said 198 years. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, that right there in itself played a role
Yeah.
on my mental.
Right, of course it did.
Yes, my mental, what I want to say, my mental destruction
Right.
at that time, you know. But the mass incarceration, and it's not a secret, when we talk about the percentage of blacks as opposed to other ethnic groups, you know, there is an attack on a young black man.
Right.
You know, I had a brother tell me about, he used the analogy of Pharaoh, and this is nothing religious. He used the analogy of Pharaoh when Pharaoh's throne was threatened, right? Pharaoh ordered the killing of all the young men, but saved the women,
Save the women.
right? And it's the same method that they use today when we talk about mass incarceration.
Right.
You know, I mean, they need their fields cultivated, right? They need their prison to run with very little money,
Right.
I remember when we was in ASCP, man, the statistics was in terms of caring for a prisoner for a year was, and we talking about in the 80s, was $30,000. But it was $5,000 to send a brother to college.
Yeah.
You know? So when you look at that disparity, right, you could see what's the intent here.
Yeah.
It's the mass
That's
incarcerate.
obvious. Yeah.
It's to make this money.
That's
you know?
obvious. That's
Yeah.
obvious.
Yeah.
Well, Brother Rashid, look, it was a pleasure, brother,
Thank you.
and always a pleasure.
Let me encourage you, Brother Marcus, that yes, I think we ought to have a conversation like that. You know, and I think that what that conversation would do, it would call up a lot of stuff that we need to kill.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It will call, and that's a process of mental health. You know, because we have a lot of stuff that is in us that we have witnessed, that we have experienced,
That you cannot
that-
talk about.
Yeah, that we just don't know who to confide in.
Right.
Right.
But if we have people that was there, that experienced it, we could call that monster up and behead it,
And it would help.
and it would help us.
It would
Yes.
help our families. It would help
Yes.
the community to
Understand.
understand why
Advocating.
some people do some antisocial, different, you know,
Yes,
different
yes,
OCDs,
yes.
different little things that we have that people just can't seem to get a grip on that makes us what they call weird,
Weird.
or strange.
And I'm one.
Right.
I'm one
Yeah,
of
I'm
them, man. It's
definitely
it's
one.
hard for
I'm
me to be
definitely
among, you know, a lot of
Yes,
people,
yes,
and I know that it's a wholesome environment.
Definitely.
But I know that comes from prison. It's hard for me to be in a room with people I know have my best interests, but at the same
And
time
be
I
free.
feel
Yeah,
and
I
be
can't
free.
free-
I
I
feel
can't, right.
closed, you know, and I know it comes from prison.
Right, right.
That's an interesting conversation, Sister Samika. Yeah, I don't know why.
Yes, and it's so needed, like I say, you know,
Yes.
because so many people, formerly incarcerated as well as those who are currently incarcerated, they suffer from mental health illnesses.
Yes, they do.
And, you know,
Yes, it's no doubt.
right, and I can't make this up. I'm just going by what I was told from my research participants, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
That the healthcare services are inadequate.
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
know?
definitely.
Because it's about a paycheck.
Right.
In a lot of cases, it's not about sincere
Right.
concern or genuine concern
Right.
to help people really heal.
Right, right,
know?
right. But if we did a little education on how the psychiatric institution where it derived from, right? The history would tell you a lot about why it's like it is
Right.
today.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And we thank you so much for being here.
Thank
We
you,
know you
man.
are a busy man, but you took the time out. You could be in the Wells, but you were here today, so we
And believe me-
appreciate you being here today.
Believe me, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Right. It's not
Thank
your
you so
last time.
No.
I guarantee it won't be.
Bring me here, brother.
Yes, sir.
Bring
yes,
me here,
sir.
sister.
Right,
Appreciate
sure
you
they
so
will.
much.
All right.
So we'll be back after this break.
Hi, and we're back again. Okay, so our next guest, we have Mr. Eric Williams and Miss Marie Williams
How
from
we doing?
Guns Down, Power Up. So I'll start with you, Mr. Williams. Can you tell us about your organization, Guns Down, Power Up?
Guns Down Power Up It simply means God first and a good education.
Okay.
It'll get you where you want to be. If we're going to ask the children or the adults or the people to put the guns down, we have to give them something to do.
Right.
So we introduce the game of chess. We teach them how to do critical thinking. We also implement poetry, music, and we're just trying to do our part, to bring hope into our community, to bring communication to our community, so we can learn how to handle things without resorting to gun violence. We're not anti-guns, we're anti-violence.
Right.
So, and it hit home. This organization started because of my cousin. He lost his life,
Sorry.
and we lost twice. One to the graveyard, one to the prison system. That was my enough is enough moment in 2016. So I cried out to God and asked him, what can I do to make a difference? And it was started with family, because that was on my mind
Right.
at the time. And I realized, hey, everybody is dealing with this issue that's plaguing our world, this senseless gun violence.
Right.
So thank God for my wife. She's been right there with me, tagging along. And so we're just simply doing our part.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the crime. I know that crime has been very high out there in Opelousas. Tell me, what are your views on the crime, and what can we do as a community? You know, I'm with Vote, and we have other organizations like 337 Village. Come on, help me out, help me out.
Make yourself visible. Get involved. Get to know your neighbors.
Right.
Get to know your neighbors, the children, to the parents, to the grandmas, the grandpas, aunties, all. Make yourself visible. Be a part of the solution. Interacting with the community. So, showing that you care, that you have the love in you, that God instilled in you to spread.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we do. We try to be proactive.
Right.
So you ask, what can we do with this? We're not waiting till somebody die.
Right.
We're not waiting till a life get taken. We're doing something right now. So every month we're doing something,
Right.
in the community. And with hopes that people would start chasing out the life, with hopes that people would start being a part of the solution ahead of time, So it's going to take us all working together. And like my wife said, getting to know one another in the community. We got to break those barriers where it's just me, myself, and I, and we got to start getting to know our neighbors. It's amazing that when you speak to people nowadays in time, people will look at you like it's a problem.
Right.
You just simply saying, hey,
Right.
and they'll look at you like, who is you, or what you want? Like, you must want something,
Right.
So we got to change that type of culture, because when I was a kid, I can remember my grandmother walking us all around the neighborhood, and she knew just about everybody in the neighborhood, and people would sit on their porch and they would speak to each other as you went by. People knew each other because they communicated.
Right.
And I think they say, where's the village? It takes a village, but we have to start back communicating, and we have to start back talking to each other,
Right.
And realize that we're not enemies.
That's right. Okay, so any upcoming events you guys have going on?
Well, we're planning on doing Christmas giveaway. The date is December 17th, and we're planning on doing something for those 2 lives that was taken in Anna Claire. We're going to get with the parents. I already reached out to the grandfather. I reached out to Mr. Tyrone Glover.
Okay.
That was one of them that was in that shooting, that drive-by in Anna Claire. It was one of them was his granddaughter. So I told him what we're planning on doing for December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We would like to do something, because we always do something in the beginning of the month. The first 3 days of the month we doing prayer.
Right.
But we would like to dedicate these 3 events to those that lost their lives in Anna Claire. And so we're going to reach out to the mother. He told me to reach out to his daughter about that. We're going to reach out to her today, matter of fact. And we're going to try to put something in motion and plan for that. And December the 17th, that's the day we're looking to do the Christmas giveaway and chess lessons and things of
Basically,
that
our
nature.
final 2023 Guns Down Power event will be December 17th for the year 2023.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And I see you have a book here. You want to tell us about your book?
The Guns Down Power Way of Playing Chess is a very powerful book. In fact, this book is so powerful. I have an 11-year-old son, and I ask my son all the time. I say, is there anything you want to tell Daddy? You can always talk, because he don't live in the home with me. He lives in Leesville with his mother.
Okay.
But I talk to him often, and I visit him as often as I can. And I always tell him, if you want to talk to Daddy, you can always talk to me. But he always tell me he ain't got nothing he want to tell me. Well, when I brought this book into his life, and we sit there and we're playing chess and we started to read this book, the word mentor, he said, Daddy, what is a mentor? I said, what I'm doing with you right now.
Right.
I said, we're playing chess and we're talking, and I'm talking to you about life, the do's and don'ts. I said, a coach can be your mentor.
Right.
He said, can my mom be my mentor? I said, yeah. I said, your mom can be your mentor.
Right.
And he have this stepfather named Excellence, this guy named by the name of Excellence. That's his name. I said, even your stepdaddy Excellence can be your mentor. I'm thinking he's setting a good example for my son.
Right.
My son said, no. I said,
Oh.
he's mean and he's angry and he beat on me. I said,
wow.
huh? I said, wow. And he left marks on me. I said, well, I was upset, but I wanted to be calm enough to where he can talk to me and wouldn't feel
Exactly.
afraid sharing with me.
Exactly.
So all this time, what I'm trying to point out though, all this time, I would ask my son, is there anything he want to talk to me about? And he would tell me no. But when we begin to read this book, he shared that with me.
Okay.
So that allowed my son to open up. So this book is very powerful, and it has a lot of things in it. It say, be ye transformed by the renewing of the mind. And it's dedicated to my cousin
Oh, okay.
that lost his life.
Right.
You know, and see, it's a number one thing you need a mentor. Remember, so my son began to ask me, what is a mentor?
Right.
And here, each chess piece represents a character trait. We're building character.
Right.
What is your purpose? So we're asking questions to pretty much get the person or the individual that's reading this book to talk. And then we have this thing that's called topics to provoke conversation.
Okay. What is power?
What is your power?
Okay.
Are you powerful?
Okay.
Can you handle the responsibility of power? So we get
question.
them to dialogue,
Right.
to open up. So we're doing more than just teaching chess.
Right. Okay.
know.
And where can your book be purchased?
On our website,
Okay. Can you give our viewers the website?
gunsdownpowerup.org.
Okay.
And you can go on there. You can also order the T-shirts on there as well.
Oh, look, they wearing it, y'all. Look, they got this swag on. Guns
Yeah.
down, power up. All right, that's what. How much are the T-shirts? if you
The
don't-
T-shirts are $20.
Okay, and the book is how much?
donation. The book is $17 donation.
Okay.
Now, if you get with me, you call me and contact me. We have a deal on the books. So if you get 10 books or more, we take $7 off each book, which makes the book $10.
Okay, that's a good deal.
You know, so
Okay, well, I'm so glad that you guys were able to make it in today. And yeah, just, tell our viewers how they can get involved in your organization. I'm sure you guys are looking for volunteers.
right.
You need more people to get out there and join the fight.
Right.
To put an end to this crime in the community. So,
The,
Yeah.
the main thing is volunteering, like she said, coming to the events. That is part of a way you can become a member. Resources, yeah, we can use your resources, but we rather if it's versus your resources versus your time, we rather you show up, because you can see what it is that we're doing firsthand. You can see the impact. It's so many children don't have fathers.
Right.
And that's what we have discovered during this program. We have discovered that there are so many children that's in need of a mentor, in need of that guidance, and that's what we're trying to provide, and that's what we're trying to give them through Guns Down Power Up. And you can check us out on our Facebook page, Guns Down Power Up. You can either contact us 337-401-2545. Our email is gunsdownpowerup@gmail.com.
Okay. Anything you want to add to that, Miss Marie?
Thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you for
Appreciate it.
being here.
And we look forward to doing great things in the future.
All right. Okay. All right, guys, that concludes our episode.